That's the power of silence. Why will you not think that silence is a very important thing? Why do you always why do you always want to fall into the state that the one that is doing the authorization, the one that is confabulating? You never give a chance. You never give yourself a chance to listen, which is a very wrong thing. You see, when you're talking, you're already speaking something that you already know. But when you decide to listen, you give yourself a chance to learn something. You give yourself, you tend to operate in a state that I call it humble intelligence. You become vulnerable of your level of intelligence. You make it vulnerable. But it's only in that state that you give yourself an opportunity to learn. Silence. Suppose that you decide to operate into the normality of make sure any word that you utter is worth your silence. And if it ain't worth your silence, it's better to remain quiet, operate in a state of consuming things, which is better other than always you are the one that is always you're making yourself conspicuous in a very ostentatious way. Has its sides if you are worth the attention. If you aren't, it becomes a detrimental concept or phenomenon to your existence. You become too much pressure that you are unable to handle or to mitigate through. Then you end up thinking that life is full of hardship, atrocities, predicament, adversities. You forget that you are the one that will choose those paths. You are the one that chose that path. So it is nothing. You see, you create the world that you're living in. Right? Everything that you observe through your eyes, and even if I get biological right now, I understand when you observe something, it gets transferred, the impulse get transferred to the retina, where through the photoreceptors get deposited into the back of the occipital part of the brain called the visual cortex. And I know it's classified under B1 up to B6, but each V dichotomous has its own functionality, so that to create that, to represent, or rather to denote the resemblance symbol that of what that was observed. Then it transformed into the intratemporal cortex, where you get eureka moment. You finally get the pic. You finally get picture that you're observing. So what I'm trying to say is that someone's eyes, it denotes the windows of someone's soul. And there's a reason why they say the dead, looking someone dead into their soul, that's strong eye contact. It's just we're trying to understand what exactly operates into this individual. What really goes back behind those eyes? And you see, if you master the art of paying attention and looking at someone's eyes, trying to understand, you get to understand one thing, that someone's eyes, whatever you view through your eyes, is just but a snapshot. Of who exactly you are. Anything that you'll ever encounter visually, it is a part of you. We live in an existence where there's that duality of things. You cannot understand the color white if you haven't have an acquaintance with the black color. You cannot appreciate, rather distinguish the day, the light, the illumination of something if you haven't experienced the darkness, the abyss of something. And you can decide to view this philosophically. That those indifferent, mediocre, absurdity, preposterous slogan that I see people embedding themselves in. That there will be a point in their life where they'll forever be happy. That they'll never experience any form of sadness, any form of despondent, any multiplicity or multifaceted of the atrocities that is embedded and entrenched to life, to the existence. There's a price that you have to pay for you to be alive. And that's what you should, the moment you operate in a state of Buddhism, you become a Buddha. Now, don't get me wrong, Siddhartha is not the only Buddha. Go back to India, there are quite a number of Buddhas, and Buddha, Hindu, it means the awakening one. Buddha, the awakening one. So you have to believe you are Brahman, the God. You have the eyes of the God. You're creating everything through your existence. Whatever it's depicting in your life, it comes from your thoughts. It comes from your whatever you are, it comes from your existing. just the mere fact of you being alive. It's the mere fact of immensely intricate, sophisticated of how the universe is. You're all doing that, whether you want to admit it or the antithesis of that. Now, here's the crazy part. The people, the countable few ever to live individual who will ever admit that, but they are God in disguise. You are identified as the awakened one. Consciousness will prevail, and crazy things will start to happen in existence. The moment you understand that whatever happened, and 2000 years ago, Socrates, Seneca, had a very profound message. Though it's quite an antithesis of my ultimate message, but I want to understand why, how, and I know, and we all know that we human beings, there's a narrative that we all play. It's more like a story, and if I tell you that there's no difference between what is real and what is a story, and there's no difference between the story and you actually existing. And this is where Christian really works. Christianity, the methodology and the domain of Christianity works because it's embedded to mythological stories that has a direct correlation with axiomities that depict perfectly and impeccable into our existence. The story of the hero, the story of the doing good, eventually will be rewarded. The story of the less fortunate, that ultimately and forever will come to lead over the fortunate. It works because, and is the reason why Christianity prevailed triumphantly in Africa, because the hope itself really works. The hope. But let's not go to religion. It will quite drain me, my intelligence for now. Buddhism, the awakening. We all want to be awake, but we choose not to. Why not? Why do we choose to operate like we're the second subject of the movie that we actually are? We are the main characters, not alone the director of the film. Or we choose to play as NPCs. We choose to play as the second party. We choose to play as the third party in our own story. It's quite preposterous if you try to understand it literally. But that's what we depict. That's how these positions are attributed. If you want something, be in the frequency of it. And how do you become in the frequency of it? Current with the phenomena that you are it. You are it. You are exactly it and act exactly how you create in your mind. Then by that you're just operating that frequency, and by that your manifestation by default. Because you're creating it, you're a being. You're a human being. You're a creator. And it really disturbs me. It's a very comical discourse when I hear people having negation in artificial intelligence, because by definition, what is intelligence? That is always my deepest question. What is intelligence? Intelligence, it is an act of collecting relevant materials and deploy attention, note, when needed be. That's how you become an intelligent being. You're intelligent. That's how you define intelligence. Like, what is a being? A being is it's something that is becoming. So trying to create this is a totally biggest nuance between what is a human being and what is an artificial intelligence. And there is no way they can have an analogous. And that's why people are scared to death, because they think the analogous that they create in their mind will create competition and outsmart the value of the being. You forget this is becoming. You cannot control something that is becoming, because it is in the presence of now, the presence this time. Then when you do that, you become it. Sigmund Freud, the biggest important personality, is the id derived from it, to it. The God in disguise. It is what you are.